This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Well, unfortunately, you're going to need to be at home a little bit. It comes out in the Observer on March 10th, 2003. Angle, the most valuable full-time performer in the company, had an MRI on his neck on March 3rd, and the results came out that Angle has severe neck damage. He'll be the 8th WWE wrestler over the past few years to undergo neck surgery under Dr. Lloyd Youngblood in San Antonio, which will put him out of action for about 1 year. His symptoms, including shooting pains down both of his arms, numbing in the fingers, and a burning sensation in the neck, had gotten worse while on the South African tour this past week. He continues from there, but he basically breaks down that it was a big spot in a match with Brock Lesnar at the No Way Out show on February 22nd in Montreal. That's where the injury happened, but it worsened after a match in Cape Town with Chris Benoit, where the pain was supposedly incredible. What can you tell us about the injury and your visit with Dr. Youngblood?
Well, when I got injured, I had Brock in a chokehold and I had him down on the mat, and he got up and picked me up on his back and went from one corner of the ring to the other and sprinted as hard as he could. And he turned sideways, and when we hit the turnbuckle, my neck whiplashed sideways, and I heard nothing but cracking and crunching in my neck. I knew something was wrong. My arms went numb. I lost strength in my left arm right away. I knew something serious occurred. And, after the match, we ended up having to go to South Africa. And I went to the hotel and I went to work out to test my strength. And I went to do a curl with 20 pounds with my left hand, and I couldn't curl it. There was no strength left. So the match with Chris, it just got worse. And so I stayed on the tour, but I didn't wrestle anymore. And I knew that I was going to have to go see a doctor when I got back. I knew it was pretty serious. So when we got back from South Africa, I went to see Dr. Youngblood, and his diagnosis was, 4 herniated discs, 2 of them lodged in my spinal cord. I believe I had 2 broken vertebrae. And he said that I would have to have surgery and that I would be out a year. So when I got home after that doctor's trip, when I visited Dr. Youngblood in Texas, I had a doctor call me and say, "Hey, my name is Dr. Joe. I read about you in the paper, and I want to take a look at you to see if I can help you out." And I thought he was a crazy chiropractor. I thought, this guy's talking about a new surgery, innovative surgery that, no one's ever done. And it's basically neck repair. And he goes in and he cuts out part of the disc that's blocking the nerves or that's lodged to the spinal cord. He cuts part of that out so it's no longer attached to the spinal cord. It's just a small repair. It's pretty basic, and it only takes 2 months to heal back from it. So it was either having fusion and being out a year or getting temporarily repaired and continuing on after 2 months. And I chose the second surgery with Dr. Joe, and he did it. It worked, and I was back in 2 months. It was relatively quick, my return after the Wrestlemania match.
There's so much to unpack here. Let's talk about the injury at the pay-per-view with Brock. There's this old school adage that we fans have heard, that there's an attitude amongst the boys that, you don't tell anybody that you're hurt. You keep it to yourself. You try to work through the pain. When something is seriously wrong and you hear that crunching, before you go do the dumbbell lift, I'm saying when you come back through the curtain after the match with Brock, do you communicate to anyone, "Hey, I'm hurt"? Or do you want to try to self-assess first before you disclose that?
Well, for me, I think everybody knew that I wouldn't complain over something small. So
right.
When I got back, I was in a lot of pain, and I knew something wrong had happened. And I talked to the company doctor and told him my symptoms, and he said, "Well, we're you're going on tour, and you just want to go home?" And I said, "No, I'll try to work through it on the tour and see if it's just temporary." And it wasn't. The day when we flew to South Africa, I was in excruciating pain on the whole flight over. It was really hard to deal with and very uncomfortable. So I knew that I needed some serious surgery.
So you get the MRI done, you have the conversation with Youngblood, and before Dr. Joe calls, does it go through your mind, because let's just strip away being a famous athlete and celebrity and all that. There has to be part of the, hey, I'm a father and a dad and a provider. What's going to happen to my income if I'm gone for a year? Does that even cross your mind, or did you just know WWE would have your back no matter what?
I knew WWE would have my back, but the thing is, in this business, you get very few opportunities.
Yeah.
And you have to prove yourself over and over again. So, when you're out a year, you tend to get a little bit unconfident, like you think that the company's forgetting about you. And that was the mistake I made, because I probably should have had the first surgery and waited a year and let it heal and go from there. But I ended up doing the second surgery, and I had to produce, and I wanted to get back to the show as quickly as I could. That was my mindset, especially knowing that I was going to main event WrestleMania. It was, that was a very important point in my life, and a very important moment that I knew that I would cherish forever. So I knew that this might be the only time that I would main event WrestleMania, and it actually was.
So in hindsight, you maybe wish you would have done it a little differently, but you still would have tried to gut it out and make the match happen just for history purposes, right?
Yes. I at first, when I, came back from South Africa and I got the diagnosis from the doctor, I told Vince I'm going to have surgery, and, I'm going to have to skip WrestleMania. And he said, I'll call you back. I have an idea. Let me talk to the writers. I'll call you back. So he decided that we were going to have a match before WrestleMania and on SmackDown. And I was going to drop the title to Brock. And I believe Brock was going to go to WrestleMania and face a new opponent for the main event. So I think they were going to substitute Chris Benoit, I believe. So he was basically going to take my place. And, it bothered me. And, the next day I went to my neighbor's house, and there's a really good kid named Johnny. He has Down syndrome. A great kid, just really nice and friendly and a big wrestling fan. And he said, "Kurt, I'm so sad you're not going to be wrestling against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania." And I said, "Yeah, it's pretty upsetting, Johnny." He said, "I wish you would." And it stuck with me. And I thought, I'm going to call Vince and tell him I'm going to choose to have surgery after WrestleMania. See if he goes for it.
Yeah.
So I called Vince and I said, "Hey, why don't we have the match at WrestleMania, and I'll have the surgery. I'll wait and put it off." I said, "I know my arm's atrophying, but another couple weeks is not going to hurt. So let's have the match." And he said that you need to get it approved by your doctor. And I'm sorry, Kurt, but we have a match that's advertised on TV the past week, and it's at SmackDown before WrestleMania. You're wrestling Brock, and Brock's beating you for the title. I said, "Well, that we're going to have to change that, Vince." And he said, "Well, you're going to have the match." And I said, "Well, what can we do so I could retain the title and move on to WrestleMania without affecting the SmackDown match?" And he said, "Let me call you back." So he always says that when he's trying to come up with ideas. "Let me call you back." So I waited a couple hours. He called me back. He goes, "We have an idea. We're going to use your brother Eric. And he looks just like you. We're going to dress him up just like you, put the hood on his head, the Team Angle hood, and we're gonna pull a switcheroo on Brock on SmackDown the week before WrestleMania. So when I got to the ring that night on SmackDown, I got in the ring, went to the corner and started praying in the corner with my head on the turnbuckle, and Brock Lesnar's music hit and the lights went out. Well, little did anyone know, my brother Eric was put underneath the ring with the same outfit as me before the show. So when Brock came out and the lights went out, I rolled out of the ring. My brother rolled in and replaced me and went in the same position as me. So Brock thought it was me when he came down the ramp and into the ring, and he attacked my brother, beat him up and F5'd him and went to cover him and saw that it wasn't me. And he took a second look. He got up and take a second look. And I snuck in the ring and rolled him up for a quick 1, 2, 3. So I retained the title to go on to WrestleMania for the main event. So it was pretty cool little angle. It wasn't the match that fans were hoping for. It was in my hometown in Pittsburgh, SmackDown. But it got me to WrestleMania, which was the most important thing.
Pretty creative idea. Do you know who deserves the credit for that?
I believe either Vince or Brian Gore. They're the two ones that came up with a lot of the great ideas of the Kurt Angle character.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.